What's going on, True Strength Nation? I am sitting down today with Coach Gabriel Gutierrez of the University of Houston Adaptive Athletics Program. As you know, I'm Coach AJ, the owner and head strength and conditioning coach of the AJ True Strength program. I'm also the sports performance director and head strength and conditioning coach for the San Diego State University Adaptive Athletics Program. Coach Gabriel, thank you so much for
No,
joining.
thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, how are you doing today?
Pretty good, pretty good. Working here and there, but otherwise, all good. What
Yeah,
about you?
I'm doing fantastic. Running around. Had a client this morning. Back over here for interviews. Then it's just meetings after meetings after meetings today.
Yeah.
Hopefully some more training in there. Luckily, I got my training in before that this morning. So as long as you can balance it all works.
Oh, totally. I
Yeah.
agree completely with that. Balancing everything, it's, something really important in your daily life. Getting your workouts, getting your work, and getting, healthy food here and there, and having fun. That's the thing for me. Work, fun,
Having fun.
and working on yourself.
I love that. I love that. So, Coach, tell us about yourself. Tell us about your history with sports, with fitness, how you got into the adaptive space. Give us kind of a breakdown.
Sure. So, as you may know, my name is Coach Gabriel Gutierrez, and I've been with the adaptive program for 4 years already. I've been the head coach, and I've been working along with Dr. Cunningham when it comes to the adaptive athletics. But everything started like around 16 years ago when I first started playing tennis, when I first grabbed a racket. And it was basically my parents pushing me to do some sports. They love tennis as well, so it was basically me getting into the sports they love. From there, I just got hooked into it. I love the sport, so I would play it. I try to go professional, but so far I got into a certain level, like high level athlete. But when I came here to Houston, they did not have a male tennis team in the University of Houston. So that was a kind of a setback. I should have checked before beforehand, but uh, I see it uh, as a way for me to get here where I am right now. So maybe I did not accomplish what I wanted to, but actually I found something bigger and better that I feel happier with at the end of the path, and that's adaptive athletics. I first came to know them by volunteering in one of their classes as a coach with the tennis club at the University of Houston. And since that first day, after seeing their motivations, to work hard, to give everything, and seeing that they had talent, I just wanted to, help them grow. I knew I could help them grow. And from there, I spoke with Dr. Cunningham. I started as a volunteer coach. And after a while, he gave me the position of head coach with the Adaptive Athletics program.
Wow, nice, man. Nice. So you put in your time. That's actually coming to University of Houston and realizing that they don't have the men's team for able-bodied tennis. I think it's a pretty common story for SDSU. I think specifically as an example, is a lot of people will look to SDSU because they see a pretty strong track program. But what they don't see is that it's actually an all women's track program. There's no Division I male track at SDSU, but we have a strong women's Division I track team, right? Track and field.
That's right.
And so people will come over here and be like, wait, there's no male team. Like, why did I come here then? I should have gone to the other school, right? And the research can definitely help with that. But I think that's a pretty common thing across a lot of schools, but definitely frustrating.
Totally.
But
Yeah.
like you said, it puts you in a position where, the path could have been a lot different, right? And now you're here, and I'd like to think that you're enjoying yourself.
Totally. Actually, I every time I think about it, even though I did not, I wanted to compete at a collegiate level, and I was not able to. I still believe that I'm you know, putting myself out there where I'm helping those who I know can be more,
Mhm.
and I'm seeing my athletes succeed. That basically makes me enjoy more what I do, because at the end of the day, I always liked helping people. And what a better way that combining my passion, which is tennis, my job, and what I like to do all together. So basically, it's not work for me. The way I see it, it's just, enjoying coaching, pushing forward my athletes, and knowing they like they can break their limits, they can go forward, they can push even more every time I see them. And it is really fulfilling every time you see them get to the next level.
That is really what it's all about. I think when we see athletes push past the limits that they think they have, and it happens at multiple stages, right? It happens at beginner stages, intermediate, and advanced. We're always striving to break those limits that we're putting on ourselves, right? And really start to go above and beyond. And I think that is like really what keeps us going too. Obviously, we're having fun, we're doing what we love, but that's part of it, is seeing athletes reach the next level, right? Whatever that
Yes.
next level is for them, right? Whether they're moving into the top 10 in the open division, right? That's a huge next level.
That's a huge, yeah.
Or if they're just they make a huge jump in their serve, or in their ground strokes, or in their mobility on the court. I mean, these are all just levels that they're breaking through, and that's what really keeps us going, right?
Totally. Like, it's just, they think they have a limit, and they put themselves this limit, this bar. They say, oh yeah, because every time they get there, they get tired, they kind of go more and more bored, but their actual limit is way over there on the roof.
Wait, yeah,
So you're like, no, that's not your limit. Come on, keep pushing, keep pushing. After like a couple weeks of working, they go like, man, you're right. And then you see that they start accomplishing everything they wanted to do, and then whenever they hit that next bar that they think they put themselves into, you just say, that ain't your limit yet. That's just keep going, keep giving one more push, one more, play one more set, play one more game, next point, focus on yourself. And then they just keep going, keep growing.
yeah, they grow, it's all about that growth mindset. Tell me a little bit about how is the program over at University of Houston, how is it set up? Are you guys a club sport? Are you kind of like a separate program, kind of partnering with University of Houston? What's going on over there? I know you're working specifically with tennis,
Yeah.
with wheelchair tennis. Yeah.
So our main focus is tennis, adaptive tennis, but we do help out our community by helping set up rugby tournaments, rugby practices. We send some volunteers there, and we sometimes help with power soccer, and everything we can help on, we try to help it, even though we're a tennis focused program. So we want to always help our community. And that's what our program is about, our community-based program. It started around 8 years ago, led by Dr. Cunningham. And it was his way, his vision of creating this unique community where everyone, uh, kind of related to each other, and they were able to actually be around people and feel more comfortable with. Oh yeah, they might have the same level injury, and they might have the same struggle, so they could help each other. So it's not the same being around able-bodied people that do not understand what are the struggles of being in a wheelchair. But now you have this whole community that's backing you up, that can give you tips, help, have friends, and feel you actually belong. And that's how the program started. So after, it started like 8 years ago, and little by little it started growing to the level we are right now. And we are actually, the University of Houston helps us. We are with giving us the equipment. They give us the courts, but this program is mainly run by Dr. Cunningham itself. He This is also a class at a university, at the University of Houston, where
Oh,
people,
okay.
yeah, from different majors. Actually, there is no limit to which major you can come in. Uh, they all come together to this, uh, let's say, real life experience. All right, they get real life work experience, because what this class is for them is a way to first learn about the disabled community. Okay, learn about the injury levels, learn about what are the struggles, what are the percentages of how many people are in wheelchairs versus uh, how many are actually in college. And that's our main goal, helping people get into college, creating this community, helping the adaptive community grow. So in a way, every semester we teach new people about the community, and you'll find that out of 9 out of 10 coordinators that stay with us, they want to stay with adaptive. Adaptive becomes something so it is something that comes with a big impact in people's lives,
Mhm.
that there's no way of just living and not
Right.
wanting to help more. From people that are in other states, that give even something as small as $5 a month, they're still helping us. They
Mhm.
want to help something. They cannot be here help volunteering, but they always want to help in some way. So it's something so big, so that people, just every time you see people coming, everyone leaves with a smile. Everyone leaves with this new passion. They found this new way of thinking about the community.
Mhm. Mhm. So it's an elective course there that they get to take.
Yes, it's actually an elective course. Yeah,
Okay, got you. That's awesome. That is a, a great way to get people involved and get some help for you while you're out there. Because how many
totally.
athletes? How many athletes are you working with in total, and like at a given time?
So let's say I have around 25 athletes in the program, but usually there's around 8 to 10 athletes per practice.
That's
So
pretty
that's usually
substantial.
3 courts running at the same time. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's definitely about three quarters worth of athletes at any one time. That's a pretty substantial size program. Having that community aspect is awesome. Wow, definitely. At San Diego State, we know we're still building our numbers right now and bringing that community side of it in, starting in the fall. So uh, definitely use you guys as a little bit of a template. Be like, oh, okay, so we can get those numbers in, show some people. I know Dr. Cottingham is actually super integral in creating some of those feasibility studies as to why and how it could
yeah,
work to have adaptive athletics at a university level. I remember seeing some of the numbers from that study, just like showing how many individuals there are that are looking for sport recreation, to stay fit, to stay active, to feel like there is that community and that sense of belonging. There's a big need, there's a big want for, there's a big demand, and different institutions, whether it's one of our universities or a club or something around in the area, we need to have those as little beacons where people can come and meet and grow together. So that's awesome. So you've been working, the program's 8 years. You've been working
four
with them for
years.
4 years. So you've had quite a bit of time now
Yes, sir.
working with these wheelchair athletes. Tell us, what are some stuff that you found, and then we can kind of talk about the document that I sent you as well. We can kind of dive into some of that and what your thoughts were there. But tell us your experience. You had able-bodied tennis your whole life, and then you see these wheelchair tennis athletes. Similarities, differences. What you got for us?
Sure, actually, the first time I met them, as I told you, during the volunteering experience, they did not have a coach. It was Dr. Cunningham who would, who would run the practice every time he could make it to the practice. And then, there were the coordinators. Most of them didn't know tennis, so they were only picking up balls and, keeping the baskets full. And it was our top level athletes that were running the practice. So once I came into the picture, everything changed like drastically, mainly for the top level athletes, because now I was running practice for absolutely everyone, and they didn't need to focus on the other players, but instead of they would need to focus on they could focus on their game. So it was, let's say, a long learning process, all right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I come from a able-bodied tennis, and to how can I teach them, how can I move everything that I've known for almost at that time, I don't know, 12 years, 13 years, all right? How can I move that into the adaptive setup? All right. And then that's when research starts going on. Okay, they can have two bounces, their mobility goes like this. They have different levels of injuries. So Some quadriplegic need their hands taped, some others
Hmm.
don't. Always be careful about the weather. uh, Never let the athletes overheat. And that's something new when
Especially
some they
your
tell you, oh,
quads.
their quads that they do not sweat. So you're always got to be careful, and more when you're in the Texas heat.
Hmm.
Texas gets to those, like, 1 minute you are, I don't know, like 45, 50, and then the other minute you are in 80-degree weather, almost hundreds. So
Oh man.
it just you never know what's going to come to you sometimes. And that's why we always have to be ready with our bottles, our cooling equipment, so everyone can stay safe in the courts.
Hmm. What kind
And
of cooling equipment do you guys do? Spray? What do you guys like to do to cool
yeah,
down your quads?
we mainly do sprays. It's
Hmm.
something that we've found it's they love, like just having that bottle of cool water. It doesn't even have to be cold. It can be more like just natural water,
Hmm.
that it's not getting heated up by the sun.
Hmm.
Just And that just helps them a lot. They just feel so relief that this heat relief so fast, just
Right.
from having some water sprayed on their bodies, on their face, on their head. And then we also sometimes we used to bring some towels. I would bring some ice, and we'll put some ice in water, put the grab the towels, soak them wet, and put them in their necks, stuff like that.
Hmm.
But we after some time we found that people just love the spray.
Yeah, the spray.
Yeah, they just spray their hats, spray their face, spray their bag, and they feel ready to just go out and play.
And that's really what we need, right? Is we need that kind of artificial sweat. We just need something that's going to take the body heat, right? Absorb that heat from the body and then evaporate away, which is just what our sweat is doing.
Totally.
And any kind of external artificial way we can get that for these athletes. And I don't think that a lot of people actually know that at a certain spinal cord injury level, the higher up it goes, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, it's intuitive that less and less functioning down below is going on, but at a certain level, there's going to be issues with actually being able to sweat because that is affected by the nervous system. And if the nervous system is damaged at a certain level into that, I believe it's all the way up into the cervical spine, there's going to be the inability to sweat, which is just so fundamental to a human's ability to dissipate heat and survive in hot environments. And
Yes.
so, like when we were in Florida, I mean, I guess, see, for us in California and San Diego, it was a big drastic difference in Florida. I know Houston's got some pretty intense heat too, but not only was it very hot, but it was also very humid, which stops people from being able to dissipate the sweat that they can absorb, that they can produce anyway. So having quads that can't sweat, can't dissipate the heat, pushing hard, playing hard in a very hot environment, very humid environment, can actually be pretty dangerous. And we need to make sure that we're doing our part as coaches to keep an eye on them and making sure we're cooling them down, right?
Yeah, actually, it's the first thing I teach whenever they get when they're new coordinators. Every semester we get new people coming out and help out play. This is a class for them.
Hmm.
And every semester, the first thing I teach them about is being always careful and wary about of the athletes. I tell them there's people that cannot sweat, so we're always ready with a with a spray bottle. Uh, in the cold, in the shade, things like that. I'm always stay wary of our athletes. I'll always tell them, like, okay, these are the athletes that do not sweat. You gotta be more wary about them. Just watch them. If they look at you and they start calling you, just go straight with the bottle. Then I'll always assume they're overheating. And
Hmm.
with this heat, you're always assuming someone's gonna overheat. So you always want to be ready and spray them down, because we don't want anyone to get sick. We want to keep their health at top condition as much as possible.
Hmm.
So as I told you, the first thing I have to teach is be always mindful of the athletes' conditions. Okay, if they don't sweat, you keep an eye on them 24/7 until we
Hmm.
finish practice. Okay, and that I'm pretty glad everyone listens to me, and
Yeah.
That's why they keep that's what they do. And that's every time, even the athletes, they'll ask you to stop, and they'll just go to the shade, speak with the coordinators, hey, I need a spray. They spray them down. They find their ways to cool them down as much as they can. And then once they feel better and they feel they can go back into the courts, you're always welcome to go back into the courts.
Nice, nice. What are common injuries that you may have seen over the course of your time? Hopefully not too many, right? Hopefully not too many, but it's an inevitability of trying to play a high performance sport. There's going to be injuries along the way. What kind of stuff have you seen?
Well, actually, I always try to keep my athletes I always tell them to stretch before we start practice. So that's something important to do. After practice, we do now some physical conditioning,
Hmm.
and that helps them also stretch by the end of the practice. And the good thing is that I have not seen many injuries from my athletes while they play.
That's
They
really
do
good.
have common issues that I could say is wrist pain,
Mm,
okay, for pushing, how they grab the racket, then the mobility. So that mainly is with the beginner players, because they're still learning how to do it. So something's gonna hurt along the way, and that's how I'm able to say, oh, and I see what you're doing wrong. So if you fix it, and then they say, oh yeah, yeah, it's not hurting anymore. So but a lot of things that I've seen is getting their fingers stuck in the wheel. So whenever they try
yep.
to uh, stop abruptly, they grab the wheel, they grab the rims, and that has some metal connections with the wheel. So that metal connection just hits you straight in the fingers.
Ooh,
Hell,
yeah.
it has happened to me as well. I get in the wheelchair to play with them, because you gotta teach them in a wheelchair sometimes, because they ask you, hey coach, how come I can do this? It's different for you. You're standing, you're able body. How can it's different in a wheelchair? So I always have my wheelchair ready, get him the wheelchair, and I'll explain the concept, and I'll show them, hey, this is the way you do it. And sometimes doing so, I get my fingers stuck in the wheels.
Yeah.
So I know the pain. And but if I'm being honest, like high level injuries, I have not seen in my athletes, which is
That's
pretty
really
good.
good.
It,
Yeah.
it's something that I've always wanted to keep that way. No
Mhm.
one gets injured, no one gets uh uh, they can get some pain because they're doing wrong movements, and I tell them, hey, fix this, fix that. But it doesn't come to that point where it becomes an injury.
Got you, got you. I mean, that's amazing, right? Because so often, and I kind of put this together in that document that I sent you, right? That was kind of talking about foundations of exercise for wheelchair athletes, right? And that can be kind
Yeah.
of adapted specifically towards wheelchair tennis, or kind of in general wheelchair basketball, wheelchair rugby, right? Sports where the upper extremities having to be utilized so much more than in the able-bodied version of the sport, right? Um, and some major issues that we see across the board with these sports is that anterior muscular dominance, right? Everything in the front is just so much more overactive, so much more hypertrophy, like right, larger
Yeah.
and stronger than all the muscles in the back. We see weakness on those on the scapular stabilizers, right? The muscles that are holding those shoulder blades in place,
Yep.
and keeping that shoulder really in a safe position, right? This pec, this lat, right? It's all getting overactive because we're doing so much pushing
Pushing.
down, right? Pushing down and rotating in onto that wheel, coming across with the racket, putting that upper extremity into a pretty intense position, right? External rotation, up overhead, right? A lot of impingement issues can be pretty common up there, right? Um,
Totally.
and so when these athletes don't have that shoulder range of motion, if they're lacking that due to the front of their body being overactive, the back being weak, and just not having that kind of physical condition that you're talking about, that's when a lot of these issues can happen in the shoulder, right? That lack of range of motion, but we're going to force it anyway because we have to get that ball. We got to get that serve. We got to get that dig, right? And so when our body's not prepared to be in those positions because it hasn't been prepped with the conditioning and the strength training, that's when these injuries can occur. So I'm happy that you haven't had that. But do you start to see those moments occurring and you're like, oh, I hope that wasn't one, and so far
Yeah.
so good.
So with beginner players, it happens a lot that they want to do this the big serve like the top athletes. Hey, I want to learn how to serve like that. And you're like,
Right.
I mean, we can we can start we're gonna start going to that level, but it's not gonna happen right now, right?
Hmm.
So you tell them like, hey, let's first stick with this and here and there. And let's try this mobility first because I need you to get used to it. But then they're like, oh, can I at least try it once? And you're like, all right, I'll let you try it once, and that's when you tensed up, and you're like, please don't do something wrong. Don't over exceed your arm. Don't make your muscles move in a certain way that it's gonna hurt you. So you just watch them. They do the
Hmm.
movement, then you're like, okay, you already tried.
Hmm.
Let's focus with this to get to that level, right? And they go like, oh well, okay. So it's that moment when they realize it's a lot harder than it looks like, because the way they see it, for example, with the serve, is that you put your arm over here, you hit it, and the ball just goes in. That's what they see from the top players.
Yeah, yeah,
See?
yeah, yeah.
But they don't see that the positioning of the racket comes into play. That where you put the ball, like where you throw the ball, it comes to play where you hit the ball, how you hit it, how you make your arm move, and then how you finish. It's all these in one big harmony motion. And it is like it looks simple, but it's so much complex than just stretching your arm and hit the ball.
Hmm.
And they
Hmm.
realize that once they try it and they go like, oh, the ball went straight down. What happened? Like I did everything that I thought it was right, but the ball just went straight to the floor. It doesn't even touch the net. What happened? And I'm like, that's why I'm trying to first go step by step. And I
Gotcha.
explain them all the things that come in with the motion of the serve. Explain them all the things that your body is doing at the same time as you try to reach for that ball. And I tell them what happens if you do not follow the steps correctly. If you pull your left shoulder down, the ball is going to go straight down towards the net because your right shoulder is going to follow it. So if you
Hmm.
pull this arm down, the other arm goes down, tries to pull it down as well, and it's gonna miss. If you're
Hmm.
not looking at the ball all the time and you look where you wanna put the ball before hitting, your neck is gonna pull your arm with it, and it's gonna go down the ball. So if you do not do the swing correctly now with the racket, if it's not facing towards the court, but instead a little bit slightly up, the ball is gonna go floating. It's gonna go. It's not gonna go in. So it is all these things that are uh, small things that create big uh, changes. You
Hmm.
see, so it is something that you always need to explain from the beginning, from beginners, and then you follow it through the intermediate level, and then when they get to the high level, what you're doing is basically teaching them how to control their ball in the way they want it to, how to put spin to this side, how to put the spin to that side, how to get the ball specifically to this position, how to get the ball here, how to get the ball there. So once you're a high level athlete, what will be the advanced players, the only thing you focus on is more tactics. How
Hmm.
you show you teach them how to get the ball always where they want it to go, and then you teach them how they need to think inside the court while they're playing.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Go for it. Yeah, go for it.
yeah, it is this different. I divide everything in the beginner players. Everything it has to be very detailed explanations on why it happens that way. You have to first make them feel the motion, make them feel comfortable with the racket, making some a simple exercise that I do sometimes is just grab the racket and then just bounce the ball up multiple times, but you always have to hit it in the middle of the racket. You
Hmm.
see, it cannot go on the top, it cannot go on the back. Do not hit the frame. It has to be in the middle, and that just teaches control how to move the racket to get it the ball to hit the ball always in the middle.
Hmm.
And yeah, it just moves from there up. Intermediate levels, it's more like, okay, now your ground strokes, do this to put more spin, do that to do this. So you're teaching now the spins.
Hmm.
And then at the end of the advanced levels, you're just in this new mindset that they need. The new mindset that you want to win. How am I gonna win? How are you gonna analyze your opponent? How are you gonna change your game to be more effective towards your opponent.
So bringing in the opponent side of it and the strategy really heavily in that advanced setting. Whereas
Yes,
you're really just making sure that we know our tennis front and back in the beginning and intermediate.
that's right.
Oh, I love that. I love the way you break that down. What are some, when it comes to coaching, we always have, whether it's in the strength and conditioning setting with me or out on the court with the coaches, we always have cues, right? We always have kind of our major cues that we repeat because we can't be using different terminology every time we speak to an athlete, or else they don't know what we mean, right? We kind of end up having these regular terms and phrases that we'll say that the athlete and you have an understanding of what it means, and we can clean things up relatively quickly. What are some of those cues for you?
Actually, I have one of my athletes. He doesn't hate me, but he's like, "Oh man, you're gonna put this chip in my head because he's starting to to practice the big serves. All right, put the spin on the ball, put the whole arm into it, do the correct motion and everything. But he's moving from the beginner player where he just needed to make sure the motion was correct and getting the ball in to this new level where you're putting actual strength and spin on the ball, and you need to do actually all these steps correctly. So
Mm-hmm.
I changed the his grip with the racket. All right, so instead of grabbing the racket in a certain way, I'll switch more inward so the ball, would get more spin out of it. And then I will tell him, okay, you'll need to start with your elbow always higher than your shoulder. So whenever you stretch, you get familiarized with this movement that
Mm-hmm.
is going up towards the ball and not waiting for the ball to come down. You need to go up for it and reach the ball where you want it, where you want to reach it. So all these steps that he needs to follow that I broke down for him, like, hey, you need to focus on the first on your grip with the racket, where your position, how to throw the ball, all this, all that mindset. I just simplified everything to the word checklist.
Oh, checklist.
Yeah.
And
So
he knows the checklist. Nice.
that's right. So now every time he's gonna serve, and I see that he's not, he did not think about it, that he did not change his grip, like the main thing for him is changing the grip.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he forgets about that.
Mm-hmm.
But then you see him calm, trying to get the ball, he throw the ball where he wanted it, and then I go checklist, and then he just fully stops, checks the grip, checks everything, and then tries for the swing, and then let's say he hits it, he gets it in, he gets it sighted, he wants to repeat it, but as he gets ready for the next one, he moves the grip again because he doesn't
Checklist,
realize
man.
it. So he's about to serve, and I go checklist, and he just fully stops and checks. And he tells me, Gabe, you're you're gonna put a chip on my head. Like I'll be sleeping, I'll just wake up like checklist.
Checklist. Which is exactly what you want as a
Yeah,
coach, right? I am fully for that. We want that. I always tell my clients and my athletes, I say, hey, I may sound like a broken record right now because I keep saying the same things, right? I keep saying, tuck the pelvis, squeeze the glutes, get your shoulders down and back, right? Load the
yeah,
spine, get yourself in a good position, all these things over and over again. But you're going to remember them, and it's going to haunt you in your dreams. And when it haunts you in your dreams and you start thinking about the cues that I'm using, that's when I know I've done my job right. Because now it's become an integral part of your lifts. It's become an integral part of your game, right? And now it's just like second nature. And now you can move on to more advanced things.
totally. And I told him what I want from you is that whenever you go inside a court to play a match and I cannot help you there, you by yourself will say, okay, checklist, double check grip, double check here, double check that. He goes through everything. Okay, let's serve. Okay, and it'll get to a point when you get to advanced, you don't even think about it. You just switch, grab the ball, get comfortable, and start your swing, your motion. You see, it gets to that
Mm-hmm.
point where you don't even need to think about it. It got so it got so it's part of your nature to do it now. So now he's constantly thinking about it. I need to switch the grip. I need to switch the grip. I need to switch the grip. And then one day he'll just feel it with the hand. Oh, wrong grip. He just switch it. You see?
Mm-hmm.
So it's gonna come to that point, and once once I don't need to say checklist, I made myself clear. He made himself comfortable with the fact of he needs to follow these steps so his serve can actually go the right way.
Mm-hmm.
So Other than that, it's mainly hit the ball in front of you, right? Whenever I say give yourself space from the ball means you cannot be too far away nor too close, but enough so you can stretch your arm.
Yep.
Okay, you don't want to have your elbows tuck into your stomach, touching your stomach, but
Hmm.
instead you want your elbow fully extended, ready to hit in front of you, and you know, do finish your swing. I have this rule that that helps them know when they're hitting a really good ball, and it's that their left, you know, they need to be in a almost in a 45-degree angle towards the court whenever they hit. They gotta be sideways.
Okay.
Okay, their
Hmm.
left knee, it has this imaginary line that cuts through the middle of the court. Okay,
Okay. Hmm.
so that the ball cannot pass that line. If you hit the
Oh.
ball over there, that means you're hitting in front of you and you are controlling the ball. The ball is not controlling you. So they
Hmm.
have this imaginary line that they need to hit in front of. Some of them are allowed to hit in between. The line is in between both knees instead of being in front of in the left knee because it's too far forward for them.
Okay.
So I move their line a little bit back. That way they're gonna feel more comfortable with the way they hit, and they can do the same thing as they like. They can put the spin on the ball the way I wanted to, and they can control the ball the way they should do it. If you don't
And
hit
no,
the
go for it.
ball where you want it to, you're not gonna control the ball. You're gonna put all the strength that you can have out of that ball into controlling it. You're gonna put all your focusing. Oh, the ball is not comfortable. I'm gonna hit it back. This
Mhm.
that I need to control the ball. So all your focus is controlling the ball and get the ball towards the other side. Keep it in play. Whereas whenever you hit the ball where you want it to, you can focus. There's different. Now you go. I want the ball going this way. So you can use the power of the ball that's coming towards you with the control that now you have because you're hitting in front of you to get the ball where you want it to go. So that's the two different shots. You have the victory shot that is that one where you can actually get comfortable and get the ball where you want it to go, and that way get your path towards the winning that specific point. All right. Whereas
Mhm.
the other one, it there's two possible options. The ball was actually really uncomfortable to hit, and you did not have, you know, it was coming either too fast and it was bouncing too deep for you to actually get comfortable to hit it. So you do this safe shot that you uh, kind of like lob the ball, make it go high as high as you can. So it gives you time to regroup yourself, or
Mhm.
just get the ball on the other side. That's it, because you were not able to fully prepare for that ball, even though you had the time. So
And the player that you're thinking about when you make this change between making just the one line created with the left knee angle versus the player that you have kind of a wider between the legs line
okay,
angle, is that somebody who maybe has a little bit less core engagement, someone more towards the quad? Is it somebody who's
yes,
just a beginner? Okay, so it's somebody that doesn't have that stability using the core, right? Which can be
that's
another
right.
issue people aren't thinking about, that they can't be getting into these positions because they're going to fall forward. They're not going to be able to control themselves.
That's right. So
Okay.
here's the thing, and that's mainly with the forehand. Okay, I'm talking about the forehand, I'm not talking about the serve.
Great.
It's that whenever they need to hit that ball, and I'm gonna try to. So they gotta be on a 45-degree angle towards
Uh-huh.
the court, and they have their left knee. So the line just goes with the court. Okay, it doesn't follow the knee. It's just a line. Let's say parallel to the baseline.
Okay. Got it.
So you see that line over there, you gotta hit the ball over here. But for those quads who cannot, you know, engage more with their core, I
Mm-hmm.
put the line a little bit back so they can still feel comfortable without engaging much of their core.
Uh,
With the
nice. Yeah,
serve,
that's so important.
everything has to go in the same place, and most of my quads, with a yeah, most of my quads except for one, they actually do uh different serves. They do the how's it called, the instead of hitting from the top like usually, they hit it from the bottom because they don't have the muscles to get there to put their arm up. So most
Mm-hmm.
of them only have the uh some of them only have biceps, some of them only have triceps. So
And
for
it can be
them,
so different. Yeah.
yeah, for them it comes to getting the ball on the other side, hitting it from below.
Especially at the beginner level, definitely.
Yeah.
And even beyond that, if they don't have any activation of some of those muscles, depending on how that spinal cord injury is manifesting, yeah, there's just sometimes it's just better to keep it below. Just make sure that they can get that consistent, nail what they've got. Right. A big thing in adaptive sports is strengthen what you've got and figure out what you don't have, and just kind of push it off to the side. Figure out what we can do with what we do have. Right.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah. Forget about what you don't. Strengthen what you got.
Work with what you have.
Yeah.
That's basically it. You're not.
Easy.
Let's say you gotta, I don't know, draw a picture and you only have pink color. You're not gonna try to, you're not gonna stop drawing because you don't have a number 2 pencil. You see?
Right.
You're gonna just draw with the pink color you have in front of you.
Yeah.
So then that's the same thing. You're not gonna try look for doing this other stuff if you don't have the way to do it. You gotta work with what you have. So, and some of my athletes say, hey coach, I would like to hit this way. And for example, with one of my quad athletes, he says like, coach, my serve is always the same, how can I vary it? And it's pretty difficult for him to vary a serve whenever he's a quad hitting it from the bottom.
Right.
So I found a way to help him put some spin on the ball without the opponent knowing. So basically when he hits it, he'll just open a little bit his wrist, and then the ball will come with a spin. So the ball is going to bounce and it's going to open. So it's going to go outside the court whenever you hit towards the advantage side. So it's going to open up to the side. If you're serving to the deuce side, the ball is going to go inward towards the court. So, but it's still something that is good now in his tools. He has this tool and he feels comfortable using it, because before it was just a flat ball coming in, bounces, and it was easy to return. For those that were high level than him. Now that he's doing that, the ball is coming a little bit lower. It's bouncing. It comes with a little bit more speed because he's trying to get it a little bit straighter. And since it has a spin, it bounces and it opens to one side. So he likes it, and that's the way, I found my way. I found a way to work with what he had to make something new for him.
Yeah, fantastic. That's exactly what we're looking for. We got a few minutes left here. I wanted to talk a little bit more about when we first met over at the Wheelchair Tennis Collegiate Nationals in Florida. We talked a bit about you wanting to incorporate strength training and conditioning for your athletes. Can you tell me what was some of the purpose behind what you were looking to achieve there?
Sure. So I know I have high-level athletes that can push for more. I know they want more because you see it in their eyes, and I know I can get them to the next level. So as of right now, I'm the only one that can help them push forward. So as I took it upon myself to start learning about strength and conditioning on wheelchair players and how to develop their muscles, how they can, strengthen get strength and, more conditioning for whenever they're inside the court. That's going to help them basically put more power into the ball, because that's basically it, get more resistance during matches. They can play I told them, I want you to play a 3-hour long match and you're going to come out as new. You're not going to be tired. And they're like, is that even possible? And I'm like, well, we'll see. We're going to try for it. There's only one way to know, and it's just trying and trying and trying and practice. Actually, I have it right here. So let's see. I have this one. This over here. Let's see if I can stop the blurry. Yeah, this over here is like half of the research I've done on Tennis Canada. Helps a lot.
Canada's got some great stuff.
Yeah, so I got this one. I don't remember where was this from. I think it was Tennis Canada as well. Discover Accessible Fitness. What else? I got you over here.
Yeah, there we go. That's the one.
So with some other articles I found on the internet. once again, Tennis Canada.
Yep.
And they have so much research that that's the way I go. That's the way I'm doing stuff right now. I'm reading, I'm learning, and I try to find a way to, uh, you know, adapt what I learned to my for my athletes,
Hmm.
because the least I want to do is try to help them, and then they could get an injury. So before I start doing everything to help them, I need to get myself educated. I need to know what are the points, and actually some of those are amazing because they come with a explanation on the injuries, explanation on how to properly do the exercises, and
Yep.
explanations on which group muscles you're working on.
Hmm.
So it gives you so much detail that you're reading and reading and learning and learning and learning. And yeah, right now I feel like little by little I'm getting to the point where I'm gonna start, grabbing all this new equipment, because before I was doing, basic stuff. Okay, now you need to do suicides. All right, for conditioning, for
Right.
keeping, a good conditioning. Now you're gonna be pulling one of your partner friends. I make them pull, pull,
Pull,
pull,
pull. Yes.
and you're
Nice.
gonna like this one. Now what I now do as well to work on their core and some of their back muscles is I make them push with one hand. So they
Ah,
grab their partner, they hold on to the back, and they just they engage the core, because they gotta keep their partner straight.
hmm.
The partner, whoever's in the front, just arms crossed. You're not helping at all.
Right.
And the person in the back, they're holding, they're using engaging their core, because they need to keep them in a straight line,
Yep.
and they're just pushing and pushing and pushing with the back muscles and getting those back muscles ready, the shoulders, um, so the front shoulders, the back shoulder, some of the biceps are even engaged because of the way they need to push it. And
Hmm.
then you're pushing one way with one arm, and the other way you're pushing with the other arm.
Hmm.
So
That's a fun one.
they tell me like, they end up, coach, it's burning, and I'm like, that's idea,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's the
that's
idea,
that's
right? If
how
it
you
burns
know.
now, then it won't burn during your set, right?
That's
During
right.
your match. Yeah.
So, and I make it, those are the exercises I'm focusing right now. I
Nice.
have some resistant bands.
Easy.
So some of them, they stretch with their own resistant bands, and here and there. And uh, what else do we do? Before we used to do some, I would put some cones, and it was mobility inside the court. So how to
Mhm.
approach the net, how to move back, how to move here, how to hit the ball there. So it was those kind of mobility drills. And I focused myself on doing mobility and some strength conditioning with
Mhm.
yeah, their body weight and someone else's weight,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
pulling someone is hard.
Oh yeah.
But
Especially when you got this weak posterior musculature,
that's
100%,
right.
right? We got to strengthen
And pushing it, it's worse whenever
that.
you're doing it with one hand, and they tell me, coach, I want to see you do it before I do it. I'm like, very well, who wants to be my partner? And I'll do it with them. And then they'll, because it is a fun way to engage with them and say, he's also doing it. He's not just making us do it because he wants to, but he's also engaging with us. He's doing it with us. And
Hmm.
uh, I do it. I do the same exercises with them. I sometimes we do sprints together. Uh,
Yeah.
and sometimes I win, sometimes I win. So it depends, and it is a fun way to keep engaged with the athletes and make conditioning fun for them,
Hmm.
because now they're looking at it like, oh, I can beat the coach now.
I can beat the coach. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. That's good stuff. Yeah.
So and that motivates them to push harder and harder and harder. And some of them are looking more into, oh, I can do it faster, and I'm telling them, no, 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 stop right there. I
Hmm.
want you to do a full motion. Full motion, doesn't matter if you go real slow. I just want you to use the full motion of your arm,
Right.
of
There's
your
no
use
point
your
in doing
back.
some of these things, right? If they're using poor technique, poor form, right?
That's right.
Then we're just building bad habits.
That's right. And then little by little, as they start gaining speed with the muscle, with doing it correctly, it gets a little bit easier because you start getting the motion going. So you're not starting from zero. That they just feel more natural because they kind of focus on on the mobility of their arm
Hmm.
without putting so much strength into it and starting that motion. And that's the way it goes. And I've seen pretty good positive reviews from them. They say they like it. They feel they're getting tired here and there, and hopping on the coordinators. Some volunteers also say, "Oh, we want to help. We want to do it with them. We'll be if the athletes are doing suicides, we'll run some suicides as well here and there."
Mhm.
So you see, it's pretty active when it comes to that, because seeing others and looking at it as a fun way to do it gives them motivation to just pushing.
Yeah, no, that is fantastic. Being able to engage with your athletes at their level really, really brings in a sense of community, camaraderie, and culture into the program as well. Hey, with these last couple minutes here, tell us, what are you excited about that's coming up? Do you have anything that you're looking forward to in the near future? I know we're moving into the summer months here. What's going on?
Sure, actually, the main event I'm most excited about is the International Junior Wheelchair Tennis Camp we're going to be hosting here at Houston. We've The good thing is uh, we just got told about it recently, and we're pushing forward, and we're excited to be able to host that camp. It's something that I feel is going to be unique. you know we have hosted several tournaments in the past, but being able to do this specific camp, I think it's something unique, that it's going to bring a lot of opportunities in the future. And that's what we want, in the end, give opportunities to people, and teaching them, pushing them forward, and showing them that there's really no limits. you know the limits are the ones you put to yourself, and even if you feel you can't do it, you just gotta try. If you don't try,
Gotta
you
try.
never know. That's right. There's this one quote that always stays with me, and I tell them to my athletes, and it is, I don't remember where it's from, but it says, he who says he can and he who says he can't are both usually right.
Oh,
So I always tell them, always say that you can, always say that you can get to that last ball, you can make it there, just stretch one more inch and you'll get it. And that's my way of pushing them, like telling them, you don't need to say you can't, because you haven't tried it yet. Okay,
mhm.
and if you tried and you failed, do it again. We never know when you're gonna succeed, you see. So just keep pushing, and that's what I want from them. And that's what I want to give the junior athletes, that they can push more, they can give more, they can, you know, they can basically.
I love it. On that note, wow, what a powerful note to end on. I love that. Thank you so much again, Coach Gabriel Gutierrez of University of Houston, adapted tennis, adaptive athletics out there, head wheelchair tennis coach there at University of Houston. I've really appreciated your time, and I look forward. I think we can do many more chats like this and
Sure.
dive deep into it.
Thank you very much, AJ, for inviting me, and I really appreciate your time.
All right, all right.